Howdy, baseball people. My name is John Banks George, manager of the New Illinois Orioles, and I'm joined by
Ainsley Wall, the manager of the Period Dragons, the reigning World Series champs.
Okay. All right. No need to remind
Yeah,
everybody.
okay, Mr. Perfect Game.
Hey, we haven't talked about that yet, but we will.
You're gonna.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome to the first episode of Lunchtime, Pastime, talking about the Federation League of Baseball, paper baseball, whatever you want to call it. We're just talking about our league, talking about baseball, that sort of stuff, you know?
Talking about balls
Yeah, I'm good
in a
at that.
private room.
I'm good at that. So, let's start off with standings check. So, just so we know where we all are in the league. So, right now, on January 11th, 2023, the New Illinois Orioles in the Continental League have clinched the division and a spot in the CLCS for the third straight season. They finished with a 7-2 record. Behind them is Swinterland with a 3-2 record, 3 games out of first still. Peria is right behind them with a 3-3 record, 4 games out of first. And Lukeville, the Goethers, have already been eliminated with a 1-5 record, 7 games back. Yeah. Actually, correction, that's a 1-6 record. Should be a 1-6 record.
Probably should be a 1-7. Let's be real here.
Yeah, we'll see. So that is the Continental League. The playoffs are already set for the Continental League. It'll be the Orioles with the bye week. The bye, and
Football.
it might as well be a week considering how long it takes us to finish things these days. And Swinterland will face Peria, the reigning champs, in the division series.
Oh boy.
And depending on who wins their series, which is the last series of the season, which is pretty awesome. That's a hell of a finale. Yeah. So there will be 6 straight games between those 2 teams. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 in that series will almost certainly, assuming Swinterland wins against the Goethers, which seems very likely. Then
Sorry, Carter.
Then the team which wins 2 out of 3 will have home field advantage for
That is true.
The NLDS, and that'll be, or the CLDS, sorry, and that will come into play. That's going to be a huge factor with these. Both of these are power hitting teams.
With terrible fucking off-brand Wrigley that is the Sprague Stadium.
Yeah, Pelago Park, formerly Wedekind Field. It can be kind of rough sometimes.
Absolutely atrocious.
But in the National League, Groom Lake is in first place to literally everyone's utter shock.
We'll get to that later. How?
Riley Hull's new team is taking the league by storm. At least taking Valentino City by storm
for sure.
For its first 3 games.
The Valentino City Bombers got bombed.
Yeah, unfortunately. The Kyrgyzstan Greens are tied for first place, 3-0 as well. They swept the Patrium City Railers, including throwing the league's first no-hitter on opening day. And Patrium City is behind them with a 3-3 record, even at 500. And Valentino City, unfortunately, is in last place with a record of 0-6.
Rest in peace, Caleb.
The Greens are the only team that has not played Valentino City yet. The Greens need 1 win to knock Valentino City out of the playoffs. But mathematically speaking, the National League is still anyone's game.
Yep.
Mathematics are not always reality, though.
Statistics-wise, Valentino City is statistically Valentino City. Sorry, buddy.
Always, yeah. Although, in terms of their pitching, and maybe not their pitching, but definitely in terms of their hitting, this is one of their better seasons. So yeah, that's where we stand for those standings. So if the playoffs were to start today, we actually couldn't do that because the Saucers haven't played the Greens yet, so we don't know who has the tiebreaker. But my personal prediction is that it will be Groom Lake and Patrium City in the division series. Mm-hmm. And whoever wins that will face the fucking giant Pakistan Greens. Might as well be the Giants.
Yep,
honestly. They are a dynasty of dynasties, frankly. They are just a very impressive team.
I understand them, for sure.
Yeah. As for home runs, the Orioles broke the single season record previously set by the Greens by Randy at 47. I had 66 home runs this season.
Casual boast.
Yeah. And Sam Filter also broke Randy's record with 54 home runs, so he now sits second. Peria with 38 and Lukeville with 28. And then in the National League, this is not fully updated. So we'll get back to
Valentino
it.
City with 4 home runs. Patriot City with 3.
It's very much more than that recently, but we'll get it when we get to it. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about how the Orioles clinched the division this season, because that is a fascinating story. Ainsley was there. Ainsley, why don't you tell us about the final game at Lukeville Stadium?
Jonathan over here threw a perfect game against the Girthers, which is honestly kind of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but against a rival, I guess that adds extra
classic
good
Girthers
stuff
Orioles
to
rivalry.
It. Words aren't today, you know?
Facts. Yeah, so the Orioles and Girthers are longtime rivals. Luke Fisher, when he originally created the team, it was the Lukeville Feds, the Federals, and they played the Orioles in the first ever game under the current rules. So 3 innings, 2 outs an inning, that sort of thing. That was the first time we'd ever done that. So the rivalry, and he won, just so we're clear. He won. And the rivalry between the two teams has been just fervent ever since. Even in season 1, there was a lot of talk of the Orioles and the Girthers originally winning the pennants and going to the World Series to face each other. That would have been something crazy, right?
That would have been something.
Of course, the Girthers, now under new management, sold in the off season to Carter Wall, Ainsley's brother, and getting better. Improving as a team. The team is moving in a direction. Like, the rebuild process takes a while. When you have a new manager, it doesn't. Not everyone's Sam Filter.
Also, speaking of Carter Wall, he is actually the first left-handed batter in the league.
That's true. He leads all stats for lefties.
Yeah, because he's the only one. It's actually kind of interesting. He sucks batting righty.
Yeah, which is why I was able to throw the perfect game, because he couldn't decide which he wanted to bat as during the game.
So. We were doing friendlies earlier. He was so much more comfortable with the left one, hitting moonshots.
Yeah, he's a significantly better hitter from the left side. Unfortunately, the design of the ballparks
are almost not very friendly.
So the ballparks, the Generation 3 ballparks, which right now is just Pastime City and New Gateway, which is finished but not commissioned yet, because we're still finishing up season 3 with Gateway Stadium, the original. But both of those stadiums are virtually exactly the same and are virtually exactly symmetrical, is what I mean to say. So they're very friendly they're more friendly than any other park would be to left-handed hitters.
Well, unless we mirror the whole thing so that the corner was on the left, and that would be awkward for the pitchers.
Yes, that would be. But that would
also against rules.
It's not necessarily against the rules. There is no rules about that. The only rule that you have to follow is that it has to be the right dimensions. It's got to be infield distance and that sort of thing. So, and there's 2 official infield distances, just because they got fucked up once. So.
Yep, and I also spitballed it when I was doing the Coliseum. I just kind of guessed.
There's also a grandfather clause for stadiums that were built during season 1.
Yeah.
So, a lot of complicated rules there. But yeah, the Orioles, I threw a perfect game, first in the league's history. Thank you. I know you hate that.
I do hate it. I do very much hate it. I wish it were me.
It was. It had a lot to do with the design of the stadium. I think anytime you pitch something as well as a perfect game or a no-hitter, there's something to do with the park, right? Randy,
the abomination that is the Luke.
Well, when Randy threw his no-hitter on opening day, which was another very impressive game, 4 groundouts, 2 strikeouts. After a leadoff walk, it was a perfect game, but Still had that walk in there. But that was at Patrium City. That was at Patrium National Park, their home field, and that has it has the biggest infield in the league. It's the same infield size as what was it? White Stain Park / Milwaukee County Stadium.
Was that Maddentown's White Stain Park?
Yeah. It was actually the same stadium. It was the same stadium, just rebranded.
It's kind of fun.
So yeah. But that stadium also has a big strike zone, right? So there's just more that you can work with, and the same thing happened to me at Lukeville Stadium.
Yeah,
it's
incredibly warped, so every ball is a curveball.
Well, not all of them, but there is. If you can pull it off, there's a nice little zhoo that you can curve it. And so where the pitcher's mound is, you can throw it, and it'll go over the pitcher's mound and then slide back down into the strike zone from the side.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, again, I do not find that particularly appealing. I lost. The first game that I lost was at Lukeville Stadium, 11-5 this season. So it's not my favorite ever, but perfect game. That was fun.
I didn't see that game. I still don't know how the fuck that happened.
You were there, just
I was?
maybe not paying attention. It was during one of the times in Mr. Lucas's room.
Oh.
So yeah, there's that. Cheers. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about the Hall of Fame. So this is something that we've just. This is gonna be a fun topic.
It is.
This is something that the league has just recently decided on. I kind of had the idea for it for a bit, and I, as the commissioner of the league as well, I was just like, yeah, let's do this because it's fun.
Why not?
And I haven't heard anybody who doesn't support it, so cheers.
No, fuck your Hall of Fame. I don't want to do a Hall of Fame.
Right. So the way the Hall of Fame will work is tomorrow during the All-Star game, which we are going to talk about later. Tomorrow, everybody, every team owner will be able to vote for anyone that they want in the Hall of Fame of all the retired players. So those would be the people who are eligible for this class are Ethan Fulmer, Fond du Lac Foeman, Luke Fisher, Lukeville Girthers, Ryan Madden, Maddentown Stiff Sox, Adrian Wally, Westford Walleyes, Seth Koski, Cullerton Gobblers, Caden Schwartz, Milwaukee Mothmen, and Hope Zuliger for the North Calvinia Artisans.
Poor Hope.
Hope's not getting in. That's not happening. But there are 4 or 5 people who could reasonably get in, you know. So we're going to talk about some of the candidates here. And for a candidate to get in, they have to have 2/3 of the vote. So out of the 8 owners, is that 6 people or is that 7? I don't do math anymore.
6. That's 6.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it? That's 3/4. 6 is 3/4, which is close enough to 2/3.
Yeah. Let's do 5 over 8 is that more than 2/3? No. So yes, you do need 6 of the 8 owners would need to vote for you to get into the Hall of Fame.
We don't do math here in our lunchtime pastime.
We sure don't. We count home runs. That's it. We hit dingers. I hate the word dinger. I don't know why I said that.
Sounds like a boat.
It just sounds bad. I really hate the word dinger. And whenever the only person who can say it is Tyler Rawls because it just fits everything else about him.
It just sounds so nerdy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a sex position.
The dinger. What the hell happened to my shoes?
What the fuck happened? His shoelace is like fucking cut in half.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, Hall of Fame. And if you are inducted into the Hall of Fame, congratulations. We'll make you a little plaque, post on the Instagram, and
call it a day.
Forever be
immortalized
in the Hall of Fame. But if you don't make it, that's fine. You'll be on the ballot next season when we do the next All-Star game. So Hall of Fame voting will take place during the All-Star break from now on. So if you don't make it in the first time, don't worry about it. Make it in second time, third time, however many times we fucking do this.
Except for Hope. probably.
Yeah,
eventually, people are probably gonna pity vote Hope.
I cannot wait for Hope to get in on the first ballot, just because half the league is it would be funny.
I'm gonna vote Hope just for the lulz,
How
for
funny
shits and gigs.
it would be. So funny. But let's talk about some of the candidates here. So let's start off with the person who I think has the best chance to get into the Hall of Fame, and that's Ethan Fulmer, Fond du Lac Fomin, the founder of that team. He led that team to a division title, 10-2, the best record in baseball that season, tied with the Orioles. Here's a wild one. Career home runs, 94. That puts him above modern players like Spencer Zick, Carter Wall, Caleb Damask, and Riley Hall. And
Caleb's been going.
Yeah. Let it be known, Caleb hit his first home run before the Fond du Lac Fomin were created as a team.
Yeah.
The Fomin were created a few days after Caleb's team was created and after he hit his first home run. That is how impressive Ethan was. He had, I want to say, 47 home runs in season 1 in the regular season, perhaps 41. He had 41 home runs in the regular season,
and then 16.
And then in his 3 games in the NLCS, he made up the rest to get to 94 career home runs in 3 games. He made up the difference. And in terms of RBIs, in other words, total runs scored when he was playing, 130. That is more than, again, modern player. That is more than all the people I already mentioned. Spencer Zick, Carter Wall, Caleb Damask, and Riley Hall. It's not particularly close. The closest active player to passing Ethan Fulmer is Spencer Zick at 89. So, again, he would still need 40 more RBIs.
And is Spencer going for 3 seasons or for 2?
Spencer, this is his second season. Ethan's SERA, which is ERA, but through 3-inning game, it's basically earned runs per game.
Yeah.
His average was exactly six earned runs per game, which you talk about it now, and you talk about the more elite pitchers in the league. Ainsley has an exactly 4 SERA. I have a 337. But you also take somebody like Randy, who again pitched a no-hitter, and his lifetime SERA is 6.55. So Ethan Fulmer, in that one season and in the postseason, even with the absolute trouncing that he got by Randy. I mean, let's just go over some of the scores of the NLCS in season 1: 9-25, 18-4, and 23-21.
Yeah, how?
Because they didn't pitch. It wasn't the same thing.
Randy still doesn't pitch as much. He's gotten better, but you can kind of tell that he relies on his offense.
Randy was statistically the best pitcher in season 2, though.
Statistically.
Well, I mean,
he just throws it down the pipe and calls it a day.
Not really. Randy's really good at getting you to think about his pitches. He may not have a huge arsenal, but he knows where to put it and when to throw what.
That is what she said.
Okay. Anyway.
Where to put it.
But even somebody like Randy Shaw, who, again, has developed quite a lot as a pitcher, I'm sure if you excluded season 1, Randy's SERA would probably be closer to 3 or 4, like Ainsley or I. Yeah, I'm very confident in that fact. But the other thing is Ethan was the first player to develop a curveball. He was the first person to, spin it around and actually use it. It was very rare, but he did use it. And when he used it, it was quite effective. He was really the first player in the National League to try to pitch rather than just, slide it down the middle. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot there. And then another stat, which people can take this either way. I personally don't think that it's a very good indicator. All-time wins, losses.
Yeah,
I don't think that tells you how well you played.
It does not. Because it really depends on who you're up against, what's going on that day, the bats, the ball. Because we were using sporks for all of season 1.
Yeah. It's an inconsistent statistic. It doesn't account for what ballpark you're playing at, whether you're home or away. It's not always fair. Mm-hmm. But if you have a good one, it doesn't hurt. It's like submitting a really good test score to a college. It's not going to hurt, and if it's good, it might help, right? Mm-hmm. Ethan Fulmer, all-time 12-5. A very impressive all-time record. For somebody who only played one season as well, and then a couple of games in the exposition.
Yeah.
if he doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, I frankly don't know what we're doing. Because if anybody deserves it, it's him. He's had his number retired by the Orioles, because I love him and I miss him, and I can't see anybody looking at these statistics and saying, no. If he were playing today, these statistics would be those of a top-level contending team. A team in the championship series, in the division series, possibly making a run at the World Series. Like, this is a team that goes deep in the playoffs with Ethan at the helm.
Yeah.
So I think he absolutely deserves to get in. It's a shame that the Fond du Lac Foemen disbanded after that. We couldn't find anybody who wanted to take up the name. It's unfortunate, but I think Ethan absolutely deserves the Hall of Fame. What do you think?
I'd agree. I mean, I can't say that I know Ethan as well and his stats and how he played because I wasn't in that division, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I can put a name to a face. But I would recognize him if he showed me who he was. But
he played in one of our baseball games over the summer. I don't know if you were there, though.
Who knows? I keep thinking the name Ethan, and I go, oh, yes, Ethan Flood. Wrong Ethan. But, yeah, no, based on what you've told me, definitely top contender, for sure.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
So how about somebody that you have? Why don't you talk about Luke Fisher for a bit here? We don't have to go into the stats right now. I know you don't really dig into stats as much as I do. But just based on how you've seen Luke Fisher play, eye test.
He has a very interesting batting stance. I will say that. The way he... So normally, when you keep it under the bat when you hit a foul ball, normally, it's underneath the edge of the spoon. You're still holding it like aligned the way you would, like, on the pullback.
Mm-hmm.
He bends it downward. He would bend the spoon down, and he would almost angle it down sometimes when batting. And I think that gave him some of his, like, powerful shots.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was kind of a power hitter.
I mean, he might be the purest power hitter in the league's history.
Yeah.
91 career home runs, just behind Ethan Fulmer, which again just makes Ethan's more impressive because Luke played 2 full seasons.
Yeah, he played season 1, and he only played like half of season 2 because he forfeit.
He forfeit his last 3 games.
Yeah.
So he played 2/3 or
like 2/3,
3/4 of
whatever.
Season 2. Yeah.
Good chunk of it.
So 91 career home runs, 116 career RBIs. Those are the stats that I think land him in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to get him in, people have to overlook the ERA.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
It's an 8.17.
Doesn't help that, in one inning I hit 15 home runs against him.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, that's kind of like the outlier in that scenario there.
And he also played the majority of his career in a division that was driven by home runs.
Yep.
The National League, people don't understand. We are going to do an episode about, like, a recap episode of season 1, and we'll do one for season 2, and when season 3 is done, we'll do that. But season 1, the thing that people just always don't understand when they see these stats are like new players, when Sam came into the league and he saw some of this stuff. Like,
oh my God.
The National League is not the same as it was in season 1. In season 1, it was just a home run derby. That's all it was. It was a home run derby, and you were lucky if you got the outs in the inning. I mean, just some of the scores in those games top the Gateway Stadium series with Swinterland and New Illinois. And if you're not familiar with those scores, it was the last game was 29-24. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know,
it's almost different from the Continental League, because I like to think that the Continental League at that point, we were kind of focusing on our pitching.
Yeah.
At the point, at least John was, for sure. Like, and also it kind of helped that this was right after we finished paper football, so people were experienced with how much pressure you need to throw the ball, like, kind of like how to angle it, and we were learning, like, basic things, like which end of the ball is thicker, like which part you want to throw into the strike zone. And like pitching was starting to, like, get more advanced in season 1 of the Continental League, and then the National League picked it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the ERAs for each team from season 1 pulled up here. This is a stat we don't track for the season anymore. It's just a lifetime statistic, because trying to track it through a whole season is a lot.
How the fuck do I have 2?
But again, this is ERA, so this is not the same as earned runs or as SERA. SERA is earned runs per game. This is earned runs per inning. which is not what real life ERA is. Real life ERA is earned runs per 9 innings.
Or 9 innings.
So an inning being 3 outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is runs per 2 outs, basically.
Oh, interesting.
So that's what this stat is for. It shouldn't be called ERA. I miscalculated it, but I miscalculated it. Yeah, I miscalculated it consistently. So it's still a stat that we can use to compare. The Orioles, like Ainsley mentioned, a 1.58 earned runs per 2 outs. Period. 2.11. Valentino City. Look at that. Valentino City.
Yeah, go Caleb. Yeah.
2.58. Westford 3.0. Milwaukee 3.5. And then in the National League, Lukeville 6.0. Fond du Lac 6.8. Kekistan 7.0. Fullerton 11.8. 11 runs per 2 outs on average.
Can we just round of applause for Seth there? That is impressive.
It's impressive that Seth still managed to win 4 games.
Yeah. What happened there?
Well, 3 of them were forfeits and 1 he actually won. So,
it's coming some slack.
National League Classic. And that's not even including the postseason, which, again, to read off some of the scores for the wild card, 10-14, 17-18, the NLCS, 23-21. Like, these are not scores you see today outside of apparently Gateway Stadium.
Yeah. What is it with Gateway? Like, who died at Gateway and haunted the stadium?
I know, because it
is it the ghost of Ethan Fulmer?
It might be. Because it's never been a hitter's park until this season.
We need a supernatural, BuzzFeed Unsolved episode about Gateway.
There's something there, man.
There is something. Something's going on there.
But anyway, like Luke, his ERA is from a different era, right? And like I said, the earned runs per 2 innings for his regular season was only 6, which, again, is ridiculous. Yeah. That's 6 runs per inning on average.
Yeah. National League was on something else too.
Yeah, and that that includes the playoffs. But it's not fair to judge Luke by the standards of today's National League or today's Continental League, because it's not the same. Right?
Pitching has definitely become more of an art, and that was even something John and I were talking about after the World Series. We want pitching to become more of an art.
Yeah, and more than that, we want to preserve it, because the pitching in season 2, I would argue, has been better than the pitching in season 3 so far.
You think?
I mean, I think there's more interesting pitches being thrown in season 3. I think people are experimenting more and getting somewhere. But season 2 was the season where it all came together for everybody, and I think people understood how you're supposed to pitch. I don't think there was anybody just throwing it straight down the middle in season 2.
That was also when I figured out how to hold the bat.
Right.
Because then
Ainsley went from being literally a single hitter every single at bat to being arguably the most prolific power hitter of this recent.
Well,
although again, 66 home runs, and
Sam's coming up on my record.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be obsolete. I'm old. I'm gonna be retiring soon, apparently.
That's okay. But again, so Luke Fisher, 91 career home runs, 116 RBIs. Those are the stats that should land him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That, and being one of the founders of one of the original teams. Really, just playing in that first game under the rules should get you at least halfway there.
Plus,
that's such a huge milestone. He helped me develop the rules for a long time.
Luke's been here since before, baseball too. He was in the football league. He was in the Fed, but
Yeah.
If we're talking about people who...
And the Girthers were one of those teams that existed before the league itself existed.
Yeah.
They were the first team in the National League, technically, which is odd because now they're in the Continental League.
Yeah.
But,
matchups.
Still got that historic flair to it. And his all-time win-loss, again, I don't think it's indicative of anything. I think he obviously... If you're not going to be convinced by 91 home runs and 116 RBIs, keep in mind that he also was 7-5 in season 1 in the home run derby season. And he really only barely lost that wild card series to Randy. It was very close. His all-time wins-loss, 9-15. Not stellar.
But,
you can't deny that. But,
like we said, not indicative of your skill, because
exactly.
I consider myself to be a fairly good player, and mine is 29 to 22. So,
yeah, which is a winning record.
It's a winning record, not the greatest.
But it's a lot of wins and it's a lot of losses, and it doesn't matter because Ainsley won the fucking World Series, right? Like it's not indicative of how good you are as a player.
We're gonna need an entire episode about that stupid World Series.
We really
Jesus
do.
Christ.
Yeah, so I think Ethan Fulmer and Luke Fisher should absolutely get in.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't see why they wouldn't be. I mean, maybe Randy's biased, but we know he's not. Randy's a really good sportsman about this sort of thing, and I think he would. I think he'll absolutely vote for Ethan. I think it's highly likely he'll vote for Luke. And then the next two people I think are kind of in a range where it's hard to know.
They could be, but they aren't as yes as Ethan and Luke.
Yeah. So the first is Ryan Madden, played one season in the National League, owner of the Maddentown Stiff Sox. Career numbers, 31 homers and 54 RBIs. Again, that includes playoffs. The big thing is I haven't done the math for his pitching numbers yet. So we can't say for sure how he stacks up compared to other retired players. I would imagine his pitching numbers are better than Ethan and Luke's just because that's a different offensive environment. But if we want to take a look, like in his first series against the Greens, 12 runs allowed in 3 games, right? Mm-hmm. In his series against Valentino City, 9 runs in 3 games. His series against Patcham City, 13 runs in 3 games. So he was by no means the best pitcher in his division or even of his class of rookies, because I would argue Spencer was and remains a better pitcher than Ryan was. Mm-hmm. Again, that's based on the eye test, though. I don't have the numbers to back that up yet. But I would consider Ryan to be a toss-up because there is also the fact that he and Randy and then he and Spencer worked to get Maddentown into the playoffs because he knew he was going to retire. It's just a question of, is 31 career home runs good enough and 54 RBIs? Maybe so. It is possible, and I can see Ryan getting into the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he gets in this season, but I do think he will get in at some point. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, Ryan was a good player, but definitely not, like I said, he doesn't stand out as much as Ethan and Luke did. Because Ethan and Luke, you think of them I don't know about you, but I think about both of them, and I think power hitters. Mm-hmm. Luke for sure was a power hitter.
Yeah.
One of the OG power hitters.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I was surprised I beat him.
Yeah, and Ainsley makes a good point because in the regular season, Ryan had 21 home runs, and then mm-hmm. in the postseason, he had 10. And that's how he got to those 31 home runs, right?
I had 56 home runs in the postseason.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Again, we have to do, when we do our big review of season 2, it's just,
Jesus Christ.
It is going to focus on the period dragons so hard because halfway through the season, this team looked like it was going to miss the playoffs. I cannot stress enough. It looked so
fucking hard.
bad for the Dragons.
Yeah.
The Dragons started off, just to make it just so people know what I'm talking about. The Dragons started off 1-5. Was it 1-5? It was
something like that.
1-4. They started off 1-4, then changed their batting style for the final game against Lukeville, and then hit 15 straight home runs. And that was the moment that the entire season shifted. Because then they played Swinterland. It's in the wrong order on the spreadsheet, but chronologically. Then they played Swinterland. We had to skip that because Swinterland came in halfway through the season to replace Seth. Mm-hmm. Then they played Swinterland 1-2 out of 3 there, and then they had Luke forfeiting his games, and that's how they made it to the playoffs.
I was so disappointed about that one because Luke pitched to me straight down the pipe.
Yeah.
So I was so
Let's
excited.
Be clear. Ainsley would have won that series.
I would have. I was excited.
Probably swept him.
It would have gotten me a lot more home runs.
Ainsley probably would have passed 100
then
at that rate. Yeah, because Luke was still pitching like it was season 1 in the National League.
Because I passed 100 home runs like my second series of season 3, so I probably would have passed it then. If not, probably in the postseason. Honestly.
Yeah, in the postseason, almost certainly when it would have happened. So Ryan Madden, maybe. So then next, in terms of statistics, we have Adrian Wally of the Westford Walleyes. I think he should get in. The stats are not there to support me, so you're just gonna have to take my word on this. And Ainsley was there. Ainsley lived through it too.
I barely remember it because I'm gonna be honest. Season 1 was so much of a blur for me because I wasn't as into it, and also because it was like my reintroduction back into baseball since I was like 10.
Yeah.
So I was like still trying to understand the game.
Yeah.
So that's why like I was all like, oh, I'm playing Wally, okay, and then like I was told later like, oh, it was this dramatic tiebreaker, and I was all like,
what? Yeah. So Adrian Wally, Westford Walleyes, career home runs 18, career RBIs 34. So another something kind of interesting about that is the comparison between the home run rate and the RBIs rate. This is the lowest home run to runs batted in rate of any retired player. The ratio of runs scored per home runs hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not because he hit those home runs like with the bases loaded. It's because Adrian Wally was the best small ball hitter that this league's ever had. Anybody who was in the Continental League in season 1, Caleb will tell you, Schwartzy will tell you if he remembers, and I will absolutely tell you. I'm an evangelist for this man. He might have been the most clutch player in the regular season in season 1 because he didn't rely on overpowering his opponents. His pitching numbers, I don't have them calculated, but I can tell you right now they were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He pitched really, really well. He was just a perfectly balanced blend of good old-fashioned small ball, hit the ball in play, good things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Keep the line moving, advance the runners. Playing against Adrian was so frustrating, and I had to do it a lot more than anybody else because I faced that motherfucker for 5 games in the CLCS. To date, it's the only league championship series to go all 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, you could count the NLCS in season 1, but that was a best of 3 just because it wasn't set up the same way. But the only league championship to go to 5 games so far, and it was a dogfight, dude. We both won our first 2 games at home, and it ended up just being decided at Gateway Stadium. And I just pitched. That's and it's unfortunate because Wally, I didn't strike out Wally a single time in that game at Gateway Stadium. It was all ground outs, and some of them were pretty fucking close. It's just one of those things where you put the ball in play. Usually good things happen, but baseball balances itself out. And Wally, whenever he needed a hit, he would just get a hit. He was 3 games out of the playoffs with 5 games left to go, and he won 4 of his last 5 games, again including 2 against Piria, who was in the playoffs, to tie with them and force a wild card game, a tiebreaker game, which they then won, and then took the soon-to-be world champions all the way to 5 full games. He was so good at playing this game. And he understood it better than the overwhelming majority, better than anyone in the National League, I would say, except for Ethan and Randy at that time, even more than Luke. And I would say more than most of the people in the Continental League.
Yeah, for sure.
He was very good, and maybe it's because I played with him, maybe it's because of the rivalry, and maybe it's just because I really like his style of play. I love small ball. I get more excited. I get more excited when somebody hits a couple singles and then a double to drive one in and put him in scoring position. Like, I find that to be more interesting than just another home run.
That's why the Grand Slam was so fun when we each had one in our series against each other.
Because to get to that point, it capped off.
Difficult.
It capped off such an awesome. It is easier to hit a home run in this league than it is to hit a single.
Which is so funny because in real baseball, it's so much easier to hit a single than it is to hit a home run.
Right.
Which is why home runs are so impressive in normal baseball.
Yeah. So, anyway, my verdict on Adrian Wally, I think he should get in. I hope everybody listening will agree with that. But, yeah. And then Seth Koski, Caden Schwartz, and Hope Zuliger are the last 3 who are eligible for the voting this season.
Probably not our top choices.
Yeah. So we'll go over the stats really quick. Seth, 16 career home runs, 20 career RBIs. Caden Schwartz, 10 home runs, 14 career RBIs. And Hope Zuliker, 2 home runs and 4 RBIs for her career.
But keep in mind that's because most of the games were forfeited.
Most of the games she forfeited.
Yeah.
For completely understandable reasons, personal reasons, which we don't need to get into. She was a perfectly fine player. She probably could have won 3 or 4 games in season 1. It just didn't work out that way.
She's also in the National League, and
Yeah, and the National League's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna move on to talk about a current player who is about to make their case for whatever is better than the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The Hall of fucking awesome.
The Hall of what the fuck.
The only player in the league to have played for more than one team.
Yep.
The only player in the league to play for 3 teams.
It's just kind of funny.
Originally signed as a backup for Ryan to play a game for Maddentown. He pitched 6 innings, 2 games, 1 win, 1 loss, and got his first 3 home runs in the Maddentown uniform. Then he founded the Swinterland Sprigatitos to fill in the spot when Seth left the Continental League, and pretty much immediately caught on and was just 1 game out of the playoffs because he got swept by the Orioles. Otherwise, it would have been another tiebreaker for Piria.
Yep. I would have hated that.
Yeah. And then, just this past week, he played his first and probably only game for Valentino City, where he subbed in as a pitcher, pitched an inning, and that was it. He refused to go up to bat because of what we're about to talk about.
Yep.
Sam Filter is at 98 career home runs.
In 1 fucking season. And we aren't even into the postseason yet.
Well, in 2 seasons.
Oh,
season
right,
2,
yeah.
Season 2, and then so far in season 3, he still has 4 games to go this season, and he has not played a single playoff game though.
Yeah, no,
he's played 12 games.
He's going to be playing playoff games though, because I guarantee you he's going to the World Series.
He's playing World Series games this season.
I guarantee you. It's scary.
He's going to beat both of us, and it's going to be very funny.
It's going to be very funny. It's going to be very sad, but it's also going to be very great because
let's be honest, 100 could not go to a better guy.
Yeah,
he is a pure sportsman. He goes out there.
He's a ball of sunshine, dude.
He goes out there. He has fun. Has he ever challenged? I don't know if he's ever challenged the call.
I don't think so.
He might have, but it might have been because it was a ridiculous call. Like, he is so fair. He will call things on himself. He never lets his anger get the best. I mean, it is understandable if you lose a big game. Yeah. Or like if you're
slam the table.
Yeah, if you're in extra innings, you want to throw your bat, slam the table, go fuck. He never does it. He just goes fudge. He just goes fudge.
And we beg him, please, just say fuck once, please.
He is such a good guy. There's not enough you can say about him. You can't because he's the best.
He's just a little guy.
We have to understand, he's not just a power hitter. 98 home runs, but already 145 RBIs. Yeah. He hits singles. He takes walks. He plays the game. Yeah, he 2 triples in a row in his last game. He plays the game the right way, the way that makes it fun for everybody to watch. And if you are not rooting for him in the playoffs, I'm rooting for this kid against myself, because him in the World Series is going to be the best thing ever.
I will be tilted in the moment, but like when he beats me in the postseason, right. In the end, I won't be mad. It'll be great to. Also, I feel a little bit bad if I'd go to the World Series 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible. Like, I think you absolutely have the skills to do it.
But we shall see with this series upcoming against him. If he destroys me, then
I think it comes down to who has home field advantage. I really believe that. I think it's going to come down to if Piria wins 2 out of 3 at the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. Boom.
Yeah.
I think Piria advances.
I think, this is our decider of is it home field advantage? Wait, an entire episode on that. Is it home field advantage?
Yeah, for real. Once the playoff bracket is set, we're going to have to do a big breakdown of that.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But Sam Filter, Swinnerland Sprigatito's number 8. It's his lucky number, he told me.
Yep.
Or wait, no, he said, I think he said number 9. I think it was number 9. Anyway.
He seems more of an 8 kind of guy.
I don't know, maybe.
More rounded.
I picked him as number 5 because Albert Pujols, and he's just as good. 98 career home runs. Almost certainly about to pass it at home against the Goethers at Pelago Park, which will be
in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, just couldn't go to a better player. Cheers to you, Sam. Everybody's really proud of you, kid. He's gonna
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year last year and sophomore season of the year this season. We should do an award show. Like MVP.
We should.
We
really should. The Dundies, but for baseball.
The Papes.
That's terrible.
It is. It is terrible. So cheers to you, Sam. Can't wait to see you kick some ass in the playoffs.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be my ass, but it'll be funny.
And to finish it off, the next time we talk to you guys will be after the All-Star game. We will know which league has home field advantage in the World Series. Ainsley is managing for the Continental League because she won the pennant last season. Randy, because he won the pennant in the National League, will be managing for them.
We're talking some serious strategy.
Yeah.
It's going to be lots of balls.
Yeah.
Lots of bases.
Big balls.
Big balls.
Definitely some bases on the field in a way.
And I think some bats will be involved too.
It's possible.
It's possible. It's possible.
So for the first time ever, we've never done this in a paper baseball game, ever. We're going to have batting lineups.
Yeah.
So everybody, unless you know, the fucking Randy pitches 2 straight outs, right? Every person will pitch a full inning, and then the team that's batting will cycle through players. So there'll be a 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the batting lineup, and it'll just rotate around. So Sam, let's say Sam goes first, gets a base hit. Then Ainsley goes up to bat. Like, Sam doesn't keep sitting there. Ainsley takes his spot. So-and-so, like that.
It'll be kind of funny because the power hitters will be up and down and up immediately, but some of the more contact hitters will maybe be there for a little bit longer.
Right, like if you can work a walk.
It also depends on the pitcher too.
Yeah, and it'll be held at Greenleaf Ballpark.
The worst one in the league.
The NL will have home field advantage for that one, so because they lost the World Series last season.
L.
Yes, L indeed. But we'll see what happens there. I'm excited for that. We're going to see what happens. It'll be recorded.
Yep.
It's cool graphics. I've already got it figured out. We're going to rock and roll. So, All-Star game. And we will have Hall of Fame. We'll know who's in the Hall of Fame.
We will. So next episode is going to be a packed one.
Friday's going to be a fun one. But for now, we're going to sign off. Thanks for joining us for this 47-minute rambling about a league that came out of a lunchroom. It's incredibly dumb, but that's why we love it.
A spoon and a triangle, that's all you need.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.